me tell y'all one thing about creating something. You can have a lot of stuff going on, but it really takes a lot of courage to really breathe and really block out so much that's going on, like within your world. Like, you can just, the doubts that come up around. This has nothing to do with like trying to gain acceptance or approval from anyone. It's the reality, like, just so many things that can come up centered around like what you feel you have to do, the feeling of like the confidence, the self-esteem, the self-confidence that it takes to even, have the courage to do something and put it out there, not being concerned about others' opinions. Like, that's one of the greatest challenges I would say of creating something, is really going inward, trusting and surrendering and just letting it flow. It's not gonna always come out like how it's supposed to be. Like, I have this journal, and it's funny, like, I'm gonna show you the process, bring you into my world right now. It says, no rain, no flowers. That immediately caught my surprise, and I believe I got this at Dollar Tree. But it's just the significance of like so many things that, again, that I've written down in here, but also come back to. Like, I didn't know, some things you go through all these emotions, you go through life experiences. It seems like you go 20 steps back when you're just trying to make one step forward. But there's so many things around there, like things in here, in Ubuntu, I am because we are, one of my favorite quotes. Just flipping through my thing, like spiritual currency, the highest form of currency. So a lot of things, again, it's been a process. A lot of things I've written down and had no idea like what I was giving birth to. And that's another symbolism of giving birth to something. That's like your own individuality comes from the fact of trying to, I feel like me coming into my own within myself, coming home to myself, has a lot to do with trying to be home for other people, trying to be a safe haven for so many other people. And it's still valuable in essence. It's just me really learning now to pour into myself, listening to my bodily, but listening to my emotions, my being, becoming more self-aware of like where I give my energy to. And it's not about just being perfect at all. It's the process of the unlearning the dysfunction, unlearning the programming, and then creating a whole new identity around the false, from letting go of the false identity of what we all have been affected by or lived in by societal standards, what our mom and dad told us we should be, and trying desperately, like out of fear, to live into that narrative when it really wasn't. It was slowly just, we were drifting away from our authentic self. Not really, not truly, I can ever say I've been disconnected from source. It's being reconnected, like unplugging from the false narrative of things and, the tricks of what we call the matrix, and then plugging in to self. See what I'm saying? Plugging back into source. I gotta do a masterpiece on that. I just got a major, like, oh my gosh, whoa, the masterpiece I just got from that. But yeah, again, a lot of these things is months and years, like probably a year or two ago, and things that, again, you were given this for a reason. I don't know who I need to tell that to, but you were given this for a reason. And like I said, I'm just bringing y'all into like the authentic aspect, to where a lot of this wasn't even written. Like this journal, I got this journal while I was living in a hotel at the moment, but I was still fulfilling my purpose. On my other channel, but on my other videos, I was in the process, when I got this journal, I was in the process of like my mom going through an eviction, her and I, and just parting ways at that moment with my partner. And just months later, after that, and then so many things happen. I mean, transformative, like things that now well, at a point in time, I was still trying to process, like, why is this happening? But now seeing the evolution around everything, again, this journal was very significant to where um, I know I needed to get it. I needed it. Sometimes, like, I had to decipher what I want, but I needed it because I was getting sparks. I was getting ideas, and I didn't even know how it was going to happen. I just had that faith that, whether I shared ideas with people, whether I shared my vision, that's the thing about the puzzle pieces, how it all comes together. So this journal is very significant because in that process of so many things going on in the hotel with my mom, and how I even came to create my first murals um, at like a school, or I would like, well, you can call it daycare, but just planting a seed somewhere. When I realized it was, when I reflected on it now, like how much more bigger it was for me. But just stepping out of my comfort zone, like being able to be my individual self, no matter how much money or anything that I had, I realized like I was really walking by faith. So a lot of these journals have a lot of things that you're probably going to hear soon that, again, had I just tried to listen to others externally, this false power of authority and people listen to them and their what I should do and all like that, can I really say I would have been here? I would have said I would have went through a lot more lessons, but then again, me holding tight to this is more so like, yo, man, being individual is amazing, man. Like being your truest self, and it's a process of returning home to you. And this is something that, like, I'm in the process of recording, so I'm gonna welcome y'all into my world, and it's really like welcome y'all into my world, like something that I wrote. And let me tell you something. Some things I do not. This is not no like about rehearsing stuff. Some things I even had trouble with reading because I write so differently. I know there's other people like that. I write, like if I'm needing to write something fast, I'm channeling something, I'll be like, then sometimes I'm very picky where I gotta have a certain pen. Those of you that are all writers or visionaries, whatever, like it gotta feel a certain way. Like I'm sensitive about so many things, and I've been like this since I was a child. It's like something I just It's like even the penny, but even the pen, like it's something like I'm connecting with it. Like, hold on now, this ain't it. It gotta be fluent like the pen. But if I just, it gets frustrating sometimes if I don't. But if I'm really channeling or I need to get something, I'll grab one real fast and be like, okay. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that I still like about to let go of. But let me tell you something, man. If you're a writer, especially, that's very significant. That's like there's so many gifts. We are so limitless. Like there's so many things. Even getting to this process now where it's so many of us can be on the outside looking in, but that's how much societally we have been falsely to believe these values of seeing things so much externally when the power has always been within. I would say most confidently through my healing stage, had to speak up for myself and gain my own self-confidence in speaking again, with going through standing in my own power to those at a time who I feared the most, whether it be a relative and or caregiver, authority figures. Because again, that subconscious fear on or anxiety around creating a scenario of what could possibly happen and not really trusting that inner guidance or, knowing that which I felt like I was disconnected for so long. And now I'm being restored and regenerated and now it's like I'm regurgitating or rebirth, through these things which was already there when I was younger. Like, I was telling someone when I was like, I remember in my childhood, they would give us a writing prompt. You know how those, you're in writing class, right? Or you're in elementary, and I remember this specifically. I have like 6 or 7 journals, by the way, probably even more. Probably things I probably had to throw out eventually because of what no longer serves me. But anywho, what you say, baby? There's no juice, baby. You only just have the water. Okay. Well, she didn't want to hear that. Um. So, what was I getting at? Yeah. So I remember specifically in my childhood when I had elementary or whatever. They used to give us like, oh, you have to write a page, or you have to write 5 paragraphs. You remember stuff like that. Um, and I naturally have always been a writer. I will write. I remember sometimes they would ask us to write, depending on the grade level, or whatever, but they would ask you to write 2 pages max or sometimes. I will come next day or day after, 5 pages, 6, 7 pages, and like literally write. I've already written a whole what I know now to be like a script or a whole storyline. And that right there, again, what I realized that was a gift. And this is why I realize now in this Aquarian age or this golden age, or even so much of how the writings, the arts, the what is it, writing arts and the music are gonna be so, how can I say this? Gonna be things that you never seen before. Like we are you can say reinventing, but then again, it's more sort of like a lot of us already have this gift that, again, we've been told label ADHD, or I was told I had a disability because I am amazing and great at speaking. I just realized like I could have put it on where I didn't have a mother that read to me, or sat down with me and did certain things. I could put it all on that, but at the same moment, I feel a lot of that helped me build my self-esteem, my self-confidence, um, heal my wounds around speaking up for myself, standing in that power, healing those aspects of myself, accepting those versions of myself, and realize I was always gifted through it all. I was always consistent. I was always persevering. I've always prospered through it all. You as well. So again, we would get these writing prompts and certain things, and I would come back. And what bothered me about is that you're giving this one teacher this responsibility of reading all these kids' papers, and the truth now we know they're not reading all of those. Even if they did, it's like to have the responsibility to just grade all these papers and that one person decide, and then their decision is based off, going back to the superintendent or just the principal, or all those things. I guess it's not really called a syllabus, but more so like the plan or whatever it is that you have to accomplish or get it. How can I say this? It's like the whatever they are trying to accomplish there at that school, or again, it's what I look at it now is so much centered around what it looks like it's a plan, but it's in a way of control and even manipulation in a way, because you're trying to tell each kid that a certain grade you have to have these things to be valuable, to be important, to be successful, to be what in the divine eyes or source eyes, you're already all those things without the titles. You're already great. You're already amazing. We're already these things. So again, I realized in trying to pronounce, I'm probably in some of my videos I've done it. It's like one word specifically. I'll tell you this. Going through the lunch line. Oh, I remember like it was yesterday. My lips were big, or whatever. And when I would get up going through the line to ask for, the cafeteria lady, I was like, can I get some food? Fruit. I would like fruit, but I didn't say fruit. You know how people pronounce, or have a slur, or that was labeled, they would call that illiterate or someone who couldn't read. And there was all these titles, and I realized like it really hurt a child or myself to the core of my being, because here I am doing my very best, giving my all to pronounce a word or even look at a word, which still to this day, there's certain things I look at and I be like, And as a visionary, as someone that looks at something, I'm not going to pronounce or do things like everyone else, because there's a southern, what they call a southern drawl. A lot of us realize this isn't our native tongue. English, the so-called, is it even a language, because it consists of so many different other dialects. This is something, again, when people came here and migrated here or whatever, they brought their languages. Then going to the bigger scale of all that, that connects back to a whole nother country. Then you got all these people who, it's like a melting pot. So again, and then how it affected me as a child, you know, I'm not going to make about color, but you're talking about a country who has programmed the people to see so much of colorism to where it's like you're not hearing these degrading things from people, or empowerment, or seeing in people who empower you from people who look like you. So predominantly in a school or environments where you're having teachers that tell you something, and then you go home, that just destroys more of your self-esteem. And then when you go home to these environments where you have someone who does reflect and look like you, and it isn't any better because you're being verbally abused. So a lot of that destroys eliminates the confidence, or gradually the confidence in these kids, and such as myself, recedes or just fades away. And so we see that in our gradually into our adulthood, how I would say it affected me of being fearful of gaining some type of higher education or philosophy, or challenging myself beyond the norm. And even, the status quo, you know, then a part of me didn't want to conform. So I was naturally trying to rebel, because again, my focus was around my arts. And I'm realizing now this is a part of the art, because everything is an expression from the divine. So in that whole awareness of that, it's like, coming into the spiritual awareness of everything, coming into that connection and reconnecting to source or the creator, and realizing that the God, or, these energies and all these things is within me. So the beauty of all of that is like, we've always been on that righteous path or aligned with it. It's just how we teetered one way and trying to balance it out another. So me coming into this self-awareness, I realized that I've always been gifted. It's just so much of the being misguided or misdirected, and even, the corruption with the schools and all the systems, being classified as all these different titles. And so that automatically puts a label or a stamp that automatically devalues someone. So I'm here to tell you, fuck all that on some real stuff, because on like your own individuality in this Aquarian age has a lot to do with the empowerment of all. How we all, no matter what, if you've been called, I don't care if you have one arm or whatever, whatever you are gifted. Legs or not. I've seen artists who draw with their feet that don't have arms. I've seen people who are so gifted that they've been called disabled, but in the word disabled, you're able to do anything and all things. You and everyone, no matter what if society has say you labeled you some type of disabled, whatever it is, you uniquely, and this is from being around people who they said they have autism, all in the other realm of things, we all still reflect in some way, some form, an expression of the creator or source. And when I see people try to demonize people or criticize or devalue them in any way, and not realizing that they have their purpose, no matter how much you have criticized these people about what they should and should not do, and how they should not, express themselves or be a part of this bigger picture of everything, because that's important. It deep down, it used to bother me when I used to see people, whether they was in a wheelchair or not, be treated, and they used to call them special needs, but they devalue them in so many ways. I didn't see myself no differently when someone, and it's not to compare them, or my physical in any way. It's more so like the connection there of being told that I couldn't speak, or being labeled because, the whole thing around being hyperactive, or, I just didn't, as other kids, have an outlet to express it, or I wasn't empowered at that time to express it in a more conscious or healthy way, in a more empowerment way to help other people. Again, because you're talking about a society or system who really didn't care about that. They really preyed on the woundings of who we are as people, everywhere. I'm talking about culturally, on all levels, globally. So again, there's a lot of talk around these things, but in the bigger picture, a lot of you have been, saying that you're socially challenged, or what they call it, he's special, girl, I don't like to use that R word, but people know, like, it's disgusting in any way to see people be degraded. And so, I got to get to this recording, but again, it's just bringing you into my world, like realizing, like, reminding you all that, just because you are labeled, and just because you don't have this certain career status, or anything like that, those days are over, or that age, or all these things. You're going to see now all this being dismantled, because we're rebuilding. There is a rebuilding or rebirth through the aspect of how we were a part of that, how we played a role, but we also play a role in not giving that energy to that false value system, or those systems that preyed on our childhood woundings, or the false values of what we were programmed to believe and accept. And so we're also part of dismantling that, with speaking our truth, being authentic, standing in our power, and taking back our power through our own individuality. That's the beauty of all of this, is that you're going to be able to, through your own individuality, because you'll see how, if you have these systems that have given off this false narrative and value of what value really is, then you take it on this false identity of even what a child should be. I was telling my partner, I was like, a lot of us don't even know what it is to have fun. We've been so far away from fun that we really don't know. You really ask yourself and sit down and be like, how do you have fun? And I'm not talking about the emotional draining aspect. And like I said, to each his own what people do. I'm not talking about in the aspect of like going out partying and drinking. Like, that's fun to some people. But I mean like the innocent childhood fun, like literally the carefree, like you see kids, they just, this joy of being who you really are, expressing yourself in your arts, in your fashions, in your creating, whatever that is. And so, yeah, man, it's like I realized, like, a lot of you got a lot of stuff you holding on to, and it's here. And I know it can be challenging, because there was a point where, I had to trust and build my self-confidence to even accept and speak these things, and not caring how being selfless, but also not being self-attached, emotionally attached to letting this out. That's been a process, man. That's been a process through not being so more focused on what others have to say, or, stepping outside of your comfort zone, not being concerned about how people are going to judge or anything, because that's a reflection of themselves. But the beauty of all this is how the energy is unfolding. So I kind of like just wanted y'all, I just had, I don't know, I just had to share that with y'all, because it's just amazing, man. Like, how it's exciting to realize what we're bringing forth. That we already see an old world being dismantled, and in the process of like learning to be in peace and harmony and balance again, and have fun and learn to balance those things out. So yeah, I gotta get to that. I just had to share that. I'm made, you know what I'm saying? Peace and blessings. Shalom.